800-243-7565. That number can also be called. There's a toll-free option at 800-243-7662. Sorry for slamming these buttons on the board. I'm sure it's annoying hearing that. You'll need those numbers a couple of times this morning, as I have Event 7 full tickets for you. We'll get those passed out around 9:30, and I also have Creed tickets for you. That show in November, but I'll get you hooked up at 8:45 this very morning. We'll end our week with Creed tickets. On the 9 o'clock hour, even though he destroyed it, and I was concerned about what the Daddy Center may be, I thought this was going to be about women going out and getting, their father to get way over their skis and some of that stuff. Nah, smack the ugly one, and then the pretty one's going to want to be with you, right? Like, there's always some craziness in that kind of stuff. Little bit more tempered. We'll run you through his foolproof plan to find. Talking about it, I was like, you just wait. In about a week, everybody's going to be talking about how crazy this is. And sure enough, that did kind of happen. Tiger King is back now. He's still in jail, but he has a new love interest in his scope, man. He's after MGK now, and he claims he can turn MGK gay. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure they did that already, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they did that already. But, like, he's out to bed down MGK. Apparently, the Tiger King is in love with MGK's new tattoos. We talked about those earlier this week on the program, so we'll tell you what the Tiger King had to say. We'll get to that coming up at 8 o'clock. We're going to spend a little bit of the 7 o'clock hour talking about something I had. I posted this yesterday at the Facebook page. Again, the Stansbury Show. You can find me. And I asked if this picture of Michael Jordan from the dunk contest, the foul line dunk, is this the best sports pick of all time? It's pretty iconic. Now, there's so many others we can run through, and you guys did a fantastic job of giving me your suggestions. There were so many picks in there that I had forgotten about. We're going to have to talk about Earnhardt a little. That photo is iconic. It is. There's no denying it. And the Earnhardt conversation will bring us back to something I always talk about. People don't get remembered on the level that they should. It's, that. We don't keep with the past front and center, right? We don't do that a lot. I like my Jordan pick, but you guys had some great suggestions. There was some Nolan Ryan stuff in there, some Ken Griffey stuff in there. Junior is what I mean by Ken Griffey. And there was a lot of great options there, so we'll have some fun this morning. Next on the program, though, apparently Snoop Dogg is in some trouble over what he's doing in front of his grandkids. And I gotta admit, I don't think I love this. Next on the Stansbury Show. At WVH, Finger 11, rounding that show out, and at 8:45, I'll get you hooked up with those tickets. All right, we talk about celebrity a lot on the program, and one of the celebrities whose name comes up all the time is Snoop. Right? Anybody remember when he tried to pass off Snoop Lion? Anybody remember when we tried to take Dog all the way to the line and people weren't having it? Snoop gets a lot of headlines. Sends what he does. Like, he's not a hip-hop guy. He's Snoop. He became something bigger than that, right? He's not just a rapper or a hip-hop performer, however you want to classify that. He's something else. He's a celebrity. Like, he just kind of transcends his industry, right? And plenty of people have. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. A lot of people get pigeonholed in what they are, right? Snoop's kind of a different thing. I remember a couple of weeks ago, if not months, it was, I'm giving up the smoke, right? And everybody was like, are you though? And then we ended up finding out it was a Solo Stove endorsement, which, by the way, that company has put out more than a couple of statements. It's been a while now since, like, this didn't really do what we thought it was going to do. It backfired. And it's like, well, yeah, man, like, yanking people's chain is that's a weird thing to be doing right now. Like, you can do it, but how you do it will obviously, like anything else, it will decide if you're successful or not. But, people just don't have a large tolerance for that right now, yanking on the chain and all of that. Snoop's back in some headlines now. You may have not seen this yesterday. You kind of had to almost look for it. Social media users are upset with him. Now, I could say that about anybody, right? You say anything. It's like this job. If I say, people, say you're opinionated. It's like, well, yeah. Or you're judgmental. It's like, well, yeah, I have to give you a strong opinion. In order to give you a strong opinion, I have to have one. And in order for that to happen, there will be a judgment about something on the other side of my opinion. But social media users are upset with it. And it does come down to the smoking of the weed. And apparently Snoop had been seen in the studio. And he was surrounded by his granddaughters. And he had been, what they're saying here, smoking a blunt. And if you look at the video, it does look that way. Obviously, man, this gets he posted it, I believe, to his Instagram. Of him just smoking weed in front of his grandkids. Now, I say that like that. And here's what I know for sure. I don't know if it's half of you, and I bet it wouldn't be. But there's a lot of you that are thinking to yourselves, so what? And I just don't understand that. Again, we'll go back to the strong opinion thing. So this may feel like a judgment. I don't get that. You smoke weed. Yeah. Not everywhere. Not everywhere. I try to restrict usage in certain scenarios. Put a pin in that. We're going to talk about it here in a second. One commenter had said, nobody, and I mean nobody, is smoking around my kids. Another one said, like, seriously, is there a blunt in his hand in front of the grandbabies? Come on, man. So I like this because most of these people are like, what are we doing here? You may remember Wiz Khalifa, another rapper, had recently confessed that his son probably smells like weed. And he was talking about how he goes to his son's school meetings stoned. Says, hell yeah, I'm pulling up stone. They expect it. They know what's up. It's not like back in the day when you were considered a bad parent if you smell like weed. Yes, it is. If you're Wiz Khalifa, are people going to look the other way? Probably, because they're afraid to tell the celebrity what you're doing is wrong out of fear of retribution of what you will do with your power and your influence. If Caitlin, listening to me this morning, dropping her kid off at school, smells like weed, trust me, there's going to be a conversation about that. Yes, it is still viewed as you're being a bad parent, dude, if you're sending your kids to school smelling like weed. Now, a lot of the commenters said this, oh, is this really this big of a deal? People pretend weed is so dangerous when it's not all that dangerous. Let's worry about people smoking cigarettes in front of their children. Well, we did. We did worry about that. There are plenty of places where it's against the law for you to smoke a cigarette in the car with your kid. They did that. This is the next frontier of that. I don't understand how people think I smoke this for its purpose of putting me in a state of being inebriated, right? Like that's the purpose. That's why I do it. But smoking around my kids is not a problem at all, or the grandkids. I mean, these are little kids. You smoke with your teenager. It's not what I would do, but you know, whatever. At that point, you probably already lost them, right? So it's like, all right, you might as well just pull out the easy widers and get it done. Okay, fair enough. But we're talking about little children here. It's crazy. And I always say this, the guy at the Led Zeppelin station gets it, and other people don't. Like, if I get it, I kind of feel like everybody should get it. It's kind of where I come down on that. And by the way, I'm going to circle back to addiction here. I am. Everybody pushed so hard against the marijuana being addictive. You really think people smoke in front of their grandkids if there's not an addiction issue? You really think Snoop smokes all day, every day, without there being an addiction? You honestly think that man paid a blunt roller to make sure he had weed rolled all day, every day? That doesn't scream addiction to you? If you heard Kid Rock paid somebody to ice down Coors Light all day, you'd be calling him an alcoholic, right? Like, come on. Like, at some point, man, we got to stop with these crazy ass arguments, man. We just got to stop. And I want marijuana legalization. And that's why I condemn stories like this. And that's why I get on people about stuff like this. Because these are the reasons people are worried about giving us what we should have. And I've always said, it's on par with other things you're allowed to do. As a matter of fact, I didn't really want to get into this today, but a kid named Jaden Archer is a motocross performer. He died in practice trying to flip a dirt bike back, or like do a backflip 3 times on it. He's done it before. He died trying to do that. I thought to myself, so you can practice that, and everybody goes, yeah, man, personal freedoms, can kind of do what you want me to do. If you snap your neck, you snap your neck. Stansbury, if you buy that joint on the way home from work today, baby, you are criminal, right? Like that makes no sense. That makes 0 sense. Hey, man, flip a motorcycle 3 times in the air, snap your neck, perfectly fine. You were just doing lived how he wanted to live, man. But if you want to buy a joint on the way home, it's crazy. and Snoop Dogg smoking in front of his kids, and Wiz Khalifa smoking behind the wheel of a Ferrari. I understand it at that point. And if you can't put it down in front of your grandchildren, I gotta tell you, man, that kind of feels like an addiction to me.
He was the most hated man in America.
And then Kanye came along.
Ah, thanks a lot, Kanye.
The Stansberry Show
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. 9:30, I'll get you into Event Sevenfold. That show's March 9th. It's right around the corner now. On a Saturday night, Rocket Mortgage. Not so bad on that one, right? Yeah, we'll get you in. All right, so you can send a text at 330-450-7625, and more than a few of you have already this morning. Thank you for that. This message is actually coming to us from New Hampshire. Now, we talked a little New Hampshire on the program yesterday, which is why this listener sent it in. He has not yet responded, or he or she has not yet responded and told me their name. But we were talking about the diaper spa yesterday. This is where a woman, I believe it was a woman, wanted to open a business where for people who want to dress up like a baby and be cared for like that. And I believe there was some sexual things that were available to you as well. And we talked about it being weird and, a little bit of that. But the problem is that she wanted to run the business out of her home. And this was my argument yesterday, was like, well, running your business out of your house, like if you buy, sell, flip on eBay, if nobody's coming to your house to pick up the products and you're shipping and you're going to the post office every day to ship, I don't see what the problem of running that business out of your house is. If you're creating traffic on my street, if you're creating too much of that, I understand why some people around you would be like, nah, man, I'm not into this. And there's a reason why we have areas that are zoned for residential and zoned for commercial use, right? We've seen that. Now, we may see a change in those things given what's about to happen to commercial real estate in the next few years, but we'll see what we get, right? And I was kind of making it about that. That was my argument, right? So this message came in, says, hey, Stansberry, I just want to let you know, man, I live in New Hampshire. Let me shed some light on this for you. Atkinson is a very small town. There's a gas station, a post office, a propane company, and that's about it. There's no traffic lights, and you're about 30 minutes from the highway. Half the houses are farms, and the other half are super expensive. We all know neighborhoods like that, right? And again, super expensive. Having a home business is very common. There's hairdressers, therapists, accountants, and more working out of houses. Most houses are on over an acre, so it's not like the houses are right on top of one another. The home business thing was likely just an excuse. Again, like that was my argument being put forth, not necessarily the communities there. I just kind of felt I was kind of trying to relate it how I would view it if this was happening on my street and tried to relate it that way. He says the home business thing was likely just an excuse why the diaper spa was denied. The truth is that the website listed things such as a play date with a little and field trips to a nearby park and other questionable things before she updated it, which made a lot of people suspicious of what was really going to be going down at that business. So I responded. I said, well, thank you very much for that. I said, I didn't know that. I don't know. Obviously, I've been to New Hampshire. I've never been to Atkinson, right? At least that I know of. We may have driven through it. I don't even know what part of the state it's in, if I'm honest. And so those are interesting points, right? Like if you got hairdressers and you got right. So here's the thing. If you got other people on the street in the neighborhood or whatever it is running small businesses like that, then that's not going to be a great argument why she can't run that one. You would be right on that. Again, that was my argument. I don't think that was the argument used as why she was going to be denied the permit as she was, right? We brought it up yesterday about, people wanting to dress up like a baby and be cared for or, vice versa. And Kelly's a daily listener of mine, and she was like, I gotta tell you, I think it's weird. And I worry, she's like, I'm concerned about it with how much pedophilia we see. Yes, I understand where that fear comes. The amount of pedophilia you're dealing with now, I think is the amount of pedophilia you've been dealing with forever. You're hearing about it. Now, that could be my personal experiences coming out, having been victimized by a neighbor. So, of course, I think it's been happening forever, right? Fine. Like, if you want your wife to dress up like a Catholic schoolgirl or in a cheerleader's uniform, like, are we worried that means they actually want to go get a 10th grader? Are we worried that actually means they want to go get, like, a high school cheerleader? I'm not so sure there. I understand why people think it. I'm just not sure that's what's going to happen there. I would be more worried I said this yesterday. If you want to be dressed up as a baby and go and be cared for like that, that to me, yes, can come from a sexual place, but that also feels to me, and I could be giving you some dime store therapy here, but I feel like that screams child abandonment. I feel like that screams my parents didn't care about me or didn't care about me the way I felt like I needed. That screams that to me. I could be wrong. I'd be more worried about the person who wants somebody else to dress up like a baby. Because that, to me, does kind of feel like, let me throw this by you, and if I can get this by you, then I can ask you the thing I really want to ask you. And right, and like that does, now I could be wrong there, right? Welcome to assumptions, welcome to judgment, welcome to how it works. Like there's a lot of us on the planet, man. We're gonna have some opinions about some other people, right? It's just the way it's going to go. I worry more about the person who's okay with playing with the baby. I also said this yesterday, that if you do this in your bedroom with your partner, your wife, husband, whatever it is the relationship is, right? Whatever that is, that to me, there's more normalcy in that than there is in seeking it out in pain. Now, again, I'm all for, prostitution. I believe prostitution should be legal, should be tested, should be taxed. People should be protected. I'm all about it. I don't know if we'll see it. I never thought we were going to get marijuana, and now I can buy marijuana in the nation's capital, not on my way home from work today. What a fun game he's playing. Right? So, I appreciate that. Corey is the name of this listener that sent this in. Again, 330-450-7625 to send a text to the studio. I appreciate that context, Corey. I really do, because like that I did not know. And having a little bit of a frame of reference around Atkinson and whether or not my concerns about the home business would be problematic for the neighbor. My guess is that people in the community are still going to say this. Well, I want my kid and I want my husband and I want my wife going to get their hair cut. So I'm okay with that business being on that street. I don't want people engaging in this, so I don't want it on my street. Right? Because I kind of talked about this. I like strip clubs. Right? I don't go as much as I used to because, well, I'm in a relationship and I'm not trying to get laid and like all that. So like I don't, it's not really what I do anymore. But, after a golf round or, whatever, will we go? Sure. Okay. Maybe occasionally, whatever. I don't want one on my street. I want Canton to have a brothel, and we do, right? More than one. I want those. I don't want to live next to it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It comes back to a phrase I use all the time. Freedom's messy because them neighbors have it too. And so, like, what I would say to those neighbors is, well, if you're okay with the therapist's office right there, and if you're okay with the hairstylist business right there, if you're not seeing what's happening from this business, like, if people were getting out of their cars in the driveway already in the diaper, then I could get it. I'd be like, all right, shut her down. What are we doing? I get the dude. You're allowed to do whatever you want once you get in that door, but have a little shame in the driveway for crying out loud.
Back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
9:30 this morning, you get your Avenged Sevenfold tickets. That show, March 9th, Rocket Mortgage. Actually, before that, I'll get you into Creed, too. That's just pretty good with 3 doors down on it. Got a few of those to get out today. You sent a text to the studio at 330-450-7625, and I believe some of you may want to do that here, as I brought this up yesterday via the Facebook page, The Stansberry Show. It's how you can find me on all your social media platforms, by the way. And I asked the question, if this picture of Michael Jordan is or is not the best sports pick of all time. Now, it's hard, right? Because I'm asking an opinion here. So trying to find, like, the definitive answer is probably going to be a fool's errand, right? But that's what sports conversations are for, and music debates are kind of for screw around, have a little fun. Now, I could be making this about my age. I've been accused of this with Guns N' Roses, as a matter of fact, where I have said I believe Guns N' Roses put out the best debut record of all time. And somebody said, well, of course you do, dude. You were born in 1976. So here comes Guns N' Roses as you start to enter in, 10, 11 years old. It's like, of course, man, you thought that was the best debut record of all time. I still think it's pretty close. That album just comes after you, 12 straight tracks in a row. Like, it just comes after you nonstop. But I could understand, you're not wrong. People do bring in their age and, what they like into their opinion. But I have this picture of Michael Jordan from the foul line dunk contest as like the greatest photo of all time. It today looks like it's photoshopped. If you haven't seen it, I don't know where the hell you've been for 50 years, but if you haven't seen it, you know, the Stansbury Show Facebook, you can see it right there.